because that's my name.
Brandi.
We are actually live.
Oh.
So I'm hoping comments show up so I can tell if anyone is here in the chat. Can you see the chat, Alice?
Yes, I can. It says private chat, live comments. Which one shall I have open? I've never done this before.
I've only done it once. Yay! Hey Ragnar, hey Bianca, aloha.
Where do you see that?
So look, I can put her comment on the screen.
Fights the zombies. We're all waiting for that. We all want to fight zombies. South Africa's full of them. Oh, there, I can see them too.
Yeah.
Hello.
Hey guys. So, I wanted to interview Alice today, guys, to do an update on my tour in South Africa. Also, to speak about some other issues, the constant onslaught of attacks and threats and harassment that she faces, along with others such as myself, Jason Bartlett, who's walking 2,500 miles to the White House, and a couple of other things. And in the spirit of tradition, I will give her a chance to question me. If you watched the last video, she made me cry. And I regretted it, but we're going to go with it. So how are you, Alice? I miss you.
I miss you more. And it's so cold here. It's so cold.
Look, it's cold here to me, and it's not cold.
Well, we were there. We were in Texas last year this time, remember?
Mm-hmm.
We were there a day.
I know.
And it hasn't had one day as cold as this.
Really? Well, Alice, I wanted to start off by just saying this has been a long, crazy journey for you, hasn't it? Coming to America, writing the book, just everything that you've been through since you came here. I would like to also mention that she's got the greatest husband ever who just said, let's do it. And they have made it work.
Yeah.
Do you feel like at this point, things are going in the right direction for you and more on track than they were a year ago?
Much more. It's much better. A year ago, we were here 5 months. So it was all still so new and scary and strange. You know, we didn't really know people here. I wasn't in contact with South Africans here. It was basically just you. And
world.
Mm-hmm.
I remember something that you said to me because I was going to Walmart very late at night. And you just looked at me with horror.
What's wrong with you, woman? Are you now looking for trouble? What's
the
matter with you?
You go to Walmart at 2:00 in the morning?
Yes, I know. We've done it once. It's something I would never, ever, ever even consider doing in South Africa.
Right. But you also told me something else, that you didn't realize how bad it was in South Africa until you got here.
And you know, Brandi, it's now even it's even more. I'm more aware of it now, being here 18 months later, than what I was in the beginning, because now I get mad. You know, when I hear about the things going on and people just drop, I mean, those 2 teenagers on the highway. Do you know how many times we've stood on the highway that we've run out of gas a faulty pump or a faulty filter or a dirty filter, whatever the case may be. And, that Johannes walked off to go and get fuel for the
Very
car or
sad.
something, that we were left on the side of the road. Do you know how many times that happens to a lot of people? And I mean, those two kids did nobody any harm. They weren't even alive in the apartheid era.
I added them to the new video that I made, paying tribute to the more recent victims of murder. And I know that the girl was sitting in the truck after her boyfriend was killed, and they shot her in the head. And then they set the vehicle on fire.
Yeah, you don't see that here. If something like that happens here in America,
Very rare.
It's personal. It's either a husband or a boyfriend or a wife, or
right.
It's personal. But that's what happens there, and it's scary. And now that I've lived a year and a half without that, we've gotten used to it, and that's scary as well, because often I wouldn't lock a door, and tomorrow morning I'd wake up and the door was never locked. And I start shaking, I start panicking, and I start hyperventilating, and, why did I do that? I shouldn't be doing that.
Right. So you said something a few minutes ago, and I feel like, even though I'm not South African, you being here, you experience the same anger I experience watching from the outside in. So sometimes people don't understand my level of empathy for the situation. But even though I'm not from South Africa, for me to have full knowledge of what is taking place and to be watching from, an outside perspective looking in is maddening.
But Brandi, it's also because you've never lived it.
Right, and I can't imagine.
You can't, yeah. And that is scary, where we, in a sense, become numb to it, because it's every single day. It was gradual. I've never said we woke up one morning and we were faced with this. It was very gradual. It was over 25 or 30 years. The fear began when Nelson Mandela was released from prison in 1990. Everybody was cautious. They were wary. They weren't sure, which way the country is going to go and how it'll turn out in the end. So it's a lot longer than people realize. But living in it, and it gradually affects you. And, you gradually become accustomed to the way of life over there. And people gradually lose jobs, and they are gradually told they can't find jobs, and they're not employable, and things like that. It's very gradual. So 25 years later or so, when you wake up and you realize how gradual it was, that you haven't really paid attention to it. And when you're out of the country, where things like that don't happen, then you realize really how big it all was and how numb you've been to it all.
So someone in the comments said, we walk around every day with something akin to PTSD. And I say all the time that I believe the majority of the white population there suffer from PTSD.
Well, that's true, because, I would, if I'm in Walmart or wherever I am, it doesn't matter where I am, if I'm out in the open and somebody comes up to me quickly, without warning, I have that moment where I feel I have to defend myself now.
Right.
And then it's just somebody walking up to me to greet me or something like that. This is a year and a half later. I still have that. With the furnace going in this house in winter, it has those noises, cooling down and heating up noises.
Yeah.
I would wake up in the middle of the night and my heart would beat 1,000 miles a minute. And I think, who's this? Is somebody on the roof? Has somebody come in through the attic? So you do. And this is a year and a half later. Imagine living it.
I can't. I cannot.
That's how that's how it is.
So I want you to tell us. I wanted to do an update on My Turn South Africa, the book that you wrote for South Africa and for your people. Um, and because of you writing this book, I mean, you have been through a lot. I mean, you have really been through hell, and I won't say everything, but I mean, just the threats, the abuse that you've taken is really bad. And you got your publishing rights back to this book.
Yes. That made me very happy because it wasn't exactly my vision. You know, there's a lot of things in it that, you know,
Sorry, guys.
the whole package wasn't my vision. Exactly.
Sorry, we just had a little internet glitch. But so I was saying, you got your publishing rights back. And this, people don't know that this was a major just victory for you personally and what it means to you. So I just wanted you to tell them a little bit about what that means for you in the book and where you go from here.
Well, you know, that was never my book. And I've been saying that from the beginning. It was never mine. It's ours. It's South Africa's. It's the people affected negatively by the conditions in South Africa. It's for them. It's so that they can know that they can speak out about it and they're allowed to, and they don't have to put up with it. And
but they're not.
yeah, but they will, and I believe they will. Brandi, you know, we're in a completely different place this time than what we were last year this time.
For the year before.
For instance, you know, I've had a lot of personal friends that I've known for many years slowly distance themselves from me after my turn. And, you know, this is a year later and that's completely turned around because people they can't deny it anymore. They can't refute any of it anymore. It's escalating so dramatically that you can't ignore it. You can't say that it's just a phase or it's just something, an anger phase or a stage that everybody's going through or teething problems. That's done with.
And the information, I always say that it started seeping out.
Basically,
I have witnessed a miracle that I thought would never happen. And that is, it's pouring out and it can't be stopped. It's too late. Which leads to my next question for you. A lot of people in South Africa, you know, they lose hope because, and I know you know these things, I'm just speaking them, but they don't see progress as fast as they would like to, which I understand living under those conditions.
Desperation.
But as a South African, from the outside looking in, tell them what you see, because many don't see the things being done and the progress made.
People have no idea what's going on behind the scenes. What they see is the tip of the iceberg. There is so much happening. There's so many people involved. There's names that they would never believe are involved in helping us. People are working nonstop, 24/7. You know, a year ago, just for example, I don't want to go into who's doing what, but it's
a lot of people.
There's a lot going on, and it's outside South Africa. But you know, for example, a year ago, I still had people saying to me, "Oh, you're from South Africa? Oh, so beautiful!" And oh, Mandela, Nelson Mandela, the home of Nelson Mandela, the hero. Today, it's very different. I don't get that anymore. Strangers that find out I'm from South Africa would say, oh, shame, are you okay? You know, are they going to be okay? Are the people going to be okay? It's completely different to what it was a year ago. So
People are finding out.
yeah, and it's people like us, you know, on the street that you wouldn't think would know anything about South Africa. They are aware. And you know, no mention of Nelson Mandela anymore.
Mm.
I'm very quick to say, the terrorist, yes, that's who you're referring to. I couldn't care anymore, you know, because he was one. He was responsible for terrorism.
Thousands of deaths. He was convicted of 120 something acts of violence, 126 maybe acts of violence and terrorism, basically. He should have never been released from prison. He should have stayed there where he belonged. Sorry, I get very upset. I just took Lena Marks to task about this because she's seems to be a Mandela fangirl. And I'm really starting to hate this lady. And I've never really hated anyone in my life, but I just want to slap her into reality. But I want to say something because there's someone in the chat, Cobus, and he's been a friend to me for a good while. And you know how I feel about Senior Van Rensburg, and that, you know, I'm a very intelligent person. I believe in science, not necessarily prophecy. Not to say I don't believe in prophets. I just believe that they are very rare, and that most people that claim to be a prophet are not actually a prophet. And in reading Senior Van Rensburg, I mean, I get emotional even speaking about it because this man's words shook my foundation, changed my thinking, changed my life, and just really hit me like a truck. And Cobus said something once that he used to make fun of the people that would talk about Senior Van Rensburg and his prophecies, but that he has now come to a point where he's realizing, holy crap, like I'm living through this man's visions, and he made a believer out of him.
Well, it took me almost 50 years, Brandi.
And I mean, there are things that hit me like a ton of bricks. And what I've realized is that I fit into this complicated puzzle somewhere, and it just floors me. I'm watching it unfold before my eyes. Germany, I couldn't figure out how he could be wrong, but I couldn't figure out how Germany could come to do a 180. So, you know, I wrote the letter to the AFD party. I sent it with the 1914 agreement. The very next day, I swear to you, I was crying on my hands and knees because I saw a story that the AFD party defeated Merkel. And I was like, holy shit, this is the way. This is the way Germany does a 180. So it was just like God just hitting me with that so hard. Here you go. Bam. That's how I felt. So it's just so many things. And for anybody who hasn't read anything about Senior Van Rensburg, I think the book is called Messenger of God.
Yeah.
One of the books. It's very good. And there are some videos on YouTube. Some are in English, most are in Afrikaans, but you can find some information in English. And even if you're not South African, please listen to this man's words because it will blow you away. And he doesn't just speak about South Africa, he speaks about the world.
The world, yeah.
And he's right about everything. And he died more than 100 years ago. It's very eerie. So Next thing is, I'm used to being attacked and threatened and all kind of stuff. It doesn't bother me because I live in Texas and I will shoot your ass if you come on my property, just to put it simply.
Well,
if you make it to my property and someone else doesn't shoot you.
If you remember my first day there, I had a whole crowd say to me, yeah, they won't dare come for you.
And I told you, don't cry.
We have ammunition to fight them off every single day for the next 3 years.
Listen, we've been preparing for the Civil War since the end of the Civil War. But you've been coming under, it seems like...
It goes through stages.
The attacks on you, you were being attacked, and then it kind of slowed down. And now it's like a complete onslaught against yourself, Jason Bartlett, having Antifa incited to meet him on his walk and commit violence against him. You have had information that no one should know shared about you online, basically invitations to do you harm.
Do what they need to do. Well, we can thank Montgomery for this. I mean, he started it all when he, alluded to the fact that I was here illegal. I wasn't illegal.
I would like to say that you're absolutely not here illegally.
I do not need to be illegal, Brandi. I've got options, and I certainly have never broken the law, and I will never break the law, especially in a different country. So, ha.
Just like every other South African that doesn't want to come here and break the law.
No, I've never even broken the law in my home country. Why would I go here and break the law here? No, man.
Good morning. Hey, everybody. I'm not ignoring you. I'm sorry. Antifa really explain. Yeah. Groups like Busting the Myth Idiots and actual Antifa leaders here in America have tweeted out Jason Bartlett's information and that he's walking where he's going to be next. And they attach at Antifa, wherever it may be, to meet him on his walk. So I have called out to patriots to meet Antifa if they meet Jason, because the last time Antifa got off a bus in Texas, they met 200 patriots with rifles on their backs, and behind them were the police. So they're not welcome here. There may be a few cities that are liberal where there may be one guy masturbating in his mom's basement, smoking weed and playing video games, but I guarantee you he's not out on the street attacking people. But yeah, it's very disgusting that this man can't simply walk to the White House to bring awareness. And, his cousin was a victim of a horrible farm attack without having violence incited against him. What do you think about that, Alice, about Jason's walk and about what these people are doing?
I think they're actually doing exactly what we want them to do. They giving him the publicity he needs to get the White House's attention. As far as I know, there's a few news channels who've reached out to him, one of which is a news channel that President Trump endorses. So I think they're so stupid, they're actually doing us a big favor by creating such a spectacle around it. But good for them.
Yeah, thanks. I just pray for his safety.
They're not going to hurt him. They're not going to hurt him.
They better not.
Not now. They've given him the platform he needed. So chances are very good that he will have an audience at the White House because of what they've done. So
he's already been interviewed by InfoWars, right?
Yeah. But, it's the same as what the bus, the groups, Bust the Myths of White Genocide,
Don't
aka
worry.
Canadian. I mean, they made such a big deal about me being illegal that my sales have skyrocketed. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello. Thank you. So bring
Right,
it
and you're
on.
not even here illegally. Maybe we should have said that from the beginning.
Well, that's why I don't say much. Let them.
Maybe I should have said that. Like, Alice is here illegally, and we need to report her. Maybe it would have helped.
They're going to believe what they want to believe.
It's ridiculous.
And it actually works in my favor. So, you know, they were sharing my personal information and
which is against the law.
well, you know, my author page they've been sharing on social media. So what I did was I just updated the cover to reflect my turn, and they've actually helped market my turn.
So every time they talk about you,
every time they share me, my turn.
They share the book.
Thank you.
You should send them a thank you card. I have their addresses.
I shall do so.
And their ID numbers and all of that stuff. So if you want to send thank you cards, I'm happy to share. So for any Americans watching, why should they buy My Turn? And why do they need to read this?
My Turn is a personal book. It's not it's not a technical or a statistical book. It's personal. It's my personal feelings while living in South Africa, my fears. But there's also a lot of, you know, accurate events. There's accurate telling of the murders, not just the farm murders, but suburban murders. There's a viewpoint from an actual farmer that I've included, you know, and then it speaks about the corruption and the thefts and the laundering and
who's doing it.
And who's doing it and the stupidity in cabinet. I mean, the mentality in cabinet. This was a year ago, so obviously there's a lot more information out now than there were, you know, than when the book was published, but it still reflects an accurate, or it paints an accurate picture of South Africa.
Right, without overcomplicating it. That's what I like about
it's very easy to read. You know, I like easy to read. I like easy to speak. I prefer conversing at all levels than just conversing with a selected few. So, you know, it's very easy. And also it's a reflection of most South Africans' feelings.
Right.
I get a lot of messages that say it felt like you were writing about me, or that's how we feel. How did you know? Or, you know, when you said that, I thought, it's not me. I'm not crazy. A lot of people feel this way. So it reflects a lot of people's fears and feelings.
And what I really liked about it is because, yes, I mean, I have a greater understanding of the complicated dynamics in South Africa, from the political issues to the issues in the white minority community within, you know, but most people, they don't. So you put things in a way that outsiders can understand it without having to.
Without feeling like they're reading a textbook.
Right.
But Michael Ricketts here, it paints your opinion, not the facts. It paints the facts. It's about facts. There's references that you can go check up on. It's a personal book based on facts.
Right. So someone is saying, which I'm going to hold my temper. So it paints your opinion, not the facts.
Yes, there are sources.
There are facts. I can quote every fact you want to hear. Just go ahead and ask.
It covers the farm murders. It covers the rioting, which they refer to as protests. It covers suburban attacks and murders, and the education and
You understand the insights of right-wing propaganda. Oh yeah, this is propaganda, absolutely. So the White Cross Monument, and all the people that have died, been slaughtered, entire families, children, women, elderly, gang raped, the pride that's taken in this openly on public platforms that I have thousands of examples of. This is right-wing propaganda. I'm sorry, but propaganda only applies to things that are not true. And actually what you're saying is not true. So I would consider that propaganda. Goodbye. Moving on. Sorry.
As easy as that. The American way.
So Johnny says we should invade South Africa for their war crimes against humanity in regards to their treatment of white people, white farmers. Yeah, I agree. Unfortunately, it doesn't work like that. Unfortunately, these people happen to be white and the standards are not the same. Nowhere in the Rome Statute or the Geneva Convention or the framework of analysis does it say except for white people. It should include.
Well, it's the only country in the world where there are so many laws against the minority. That doesn't make sense. There are so many laws in place to restrict the minority groups.
Hundreds,
also
right?
the white groups.
There's something like 200 laws.
That's just job laws, I think, Brandi. I need to go check up. I think it's the figures have changed, but that was only the job laws. There are all the white job laws. Yes, I think there's over 600 others.
Holy crap.
But I need to find that again. I'm speaking out of correction.
Imagine for any American living in a place where you are blocked from even applying for a government job. So say you want to apply for a job at the post office. Guess what? You can't because you're white. When you go to apply for this job, you get a little pop-up that says, sorry, this job is only available for Blacks, Indians, or coloreds.
Well, Cyril Ramaphosa has got his YES program aimed at the youth of South Africa. So what happens is there's 3 questions. You have to answer all 3 yes to be able to proceed. But the very first question is, are you Black? Are you colored?
Indian or colored?
And if you say no, you can't proceed. That's a youth program. What does that tell you? The youth who they didn't even exist 25 years ago, 30 years ago. How is he punishing those? It just doesn't make sense.
Alice, I've been speaking to a young man, and he's not white. I've been emailing back and forth, and he's very, very brilliant. He emailed me some information and kind of a proposal for a business. And he did this because he wrote all of this because of the corruption in the corporations, right? So he got out of college, went in as an intern. You have all this hope, and not only him, but he's speaking for everyone that went in as interns and said, they're so gung-ho, and then they realize, like, they're all criminals, and unless we're willing to be criminals too, we're never going to get anywhere. And I've had some good conversations, and he's explained a lot to me. And I asked him, I told him, I said, look, I say some things that people consider controversial, but I try to speak the truth, and I don't say anything out of hate. I say it because there cannot be change if people don't tell the truth. And, I told him more people like you, more people that are not white need to speak out on the things taking place there. I mean, it's not just about the murders, but everything. If you don't agree with it, you must start to fight back. because it's not effective for only white people to be speaking about the horrible things taking place. And he told me, he said, I know so many people, but they're afraid. They're afraid. He said, because they are also targeted if they tell the truth of the farm murders. And, and he expressed his horror at the government ignoring, these murders. And he acknowledged that they're absolutely a problem.
But it's also a case of the outside world that are ignoring it too.
Yeah.
And that gives them power. That gives our government power. That gives terrorism a green card. We need people to stand up. Not the South African government. We know they're wrong. We know what they're doing. We know they're engaging in a warfare.
But it is going to take an army of regular citizens to force the hand of outside government. They know what's happening. They're not going to act unless a whole bunch of us are pissed off to a point where we make enough noise that they have no choice. We have power in numbers, but only in numbers.
And yeah, but the other thing is, Brandi, I mean, we've also been told for years and years and years, you cannot be seen as the aggressor. You cannot be seen, as rebelling against your government. You will be seen, you're a racist, you're a white supremacist, we're spoiled and things like that. So, a lot of this was unnecessary. A lot of this has contributed to the silence of this. So people should just zip it. When especially those that think they know what we're going through. If you don't live there, if you don't have contact with people living there and experiencing this, just keep quiet. Because, you could wake up in a country facing the same
before you know it
that we are. So let us just do our thing. We've been doing it for hundreds of years.
I agree with you, and you know how I feel.
We've never been stopped by numbers or what other people feel. The world is too worried about hurting other people's feelings. You can't even say you're proudly white because you're hurting that person's feelings who isn't white. Things like that. So just let us be, and let us just do what we've always been able to do.
I agree with you. And
don't
you know how I feel.
Because we're defending our future selves or our children or our grandchildren. We defending them from what's been happening every single day.
Right. And you know that in the past, I believe the same thing. Like, just be on the defense. Don't do anything to be seen as the aggressors. But it was because, I fear what would happen, what the retaliation would be. I'm at a point where my thoughts are changing because, number one, I'm seeing everyday people come together, which is really amazing to me, and which is a goal of mine, to try to bring people together. And I'm also seeing people remember who they are and find their strength,
Yeah.
And
it's not gone. It's been suppressed for a while, but it's definitely not gone.
I'm to the point where I'm ready to go over and fight. I mean,
well, I'll be there.
I'm just pissed off, and how long can people take it? I mean, you can't just. They're doing it on purpose. They're getting away with it. They know they're getting away with it.
But that's why they keep doing it, because there's no repercussion, there's no punishment, there's no law, there's no order. So they just keep doing what they do. But it can only go so far. It can only reach a certain point, and then things are going to change. And I mean, to give you, just to give you an example, look at that American contractor that was killed. What happened? What did President Trump do? One guy. What did he do?
Well,
he retaliated, Brandi.
Oh, right.
So he's taken care of business. He's showing the world, we're not going to stand for this.
Right. We're not going to take your shit anymore, which I'm very happy to see. But
so why must South Africa? Why must we?
You must not.
Shouldn't. People shouldn't be telling us to. They shouldn't be telling us that we can't fight back. We were one of those that had to hand in our firearms. I would never do it if I know now, or knew then what I know now. I would never have done it. But I tried to abide by the law.
Exactly.
I wouldn't this time around. So why are we the law-abiding citizens, but we're being punished because we are law-abiding citizens? So what do they want from us?
And the criminals are rewarded, seen as heroes, and pay no consequences for their...
Celeste, I'm not saying we must start a war. I'm saying we should protect ourselves, protect our families.
Right. Don't be afraid to protect your home.
Don't be afraid of doing that. Don't worry about what somebody else is going to say. Don't let people tell you that if you do, you'll be seen as the aggressor.
No one wants
to. You have a God-given right to protect your life and that of your families. That's what we're talking about.
But no one wants to see war. I mean, I have not done everything that I've done to see people die. I absolutely don't want to see that. I don't think anyone does. Sometimes it's hard to see how else to get out of the situation. You've tried everything for 25 years, and I agonize over this too, because like I said, a war is the last thing I want to see.
I hate war. War is ugly. But there is a war already.
There is.
We need to defend that. We need to defend our tribe, our nation, our heritage, our culture.
Everyone needs to just stand together.
We need to be allowed to do that. And other countries need to stop saying that we can't.
And I said the other day that if every time someone came to attack someone and the homeowner defended themselves, shot them, whatever they had to do, if every person in the vicinity of their community showed up to block the police, from getting onto their property and made this huge deal of it, where it's this huge story on the news, they can't lock up everyone. They can't lock up everyone.
That's what I've been saying as well. That's the biggest fear, I think, of most men, is the fear of going to prison and
I don't blame
their
them.
wives and children even more vulnerable than what they already are. And they will go to prison, But if more people stand up and fight for their families, for their rights, for their freedom, they can't put everybody in jail.
Right. So there are hundreds of your people blocking entrance to your property. I mean, where are they going to put everyone? Saying, we're not taking this anymore.
And that's your future. That's your future self. That's your children, your grandchildren. That one moment defines all that.
And they, people fear what makes them feel small.
Yeah.
People fear what makes them feel, they hate what makes them feel small and inferior. And these attempts to destroy the Afrikaner Boer history, the flag, to ban the flag, to want to ban the national anthem, to remove statues.
You can't ban history. You can't ban history. It happened. You
But
can't ban
an
it. But they
attempt.
are. They have.
It's a reminder of their failure. And this is why they seek to destroy it. And they fear.
Their greatest fear, if you
They
ask.
fear the people coming together. They fear this. Which is why they constantly attack and pit the community against each other, and Bill Pottinger, and I can name a million other things. They fear the day that people put their differences aside and join hands for the good of their people.
But we should cling to our history and remember it, because in that lies who we are and what we are capable of. We should never, ever allow them to discard that, because our history is rich. It's beautiful.
And I'm amazed. I made a post yesterday morning, or the day before, because I had to talk with you in the morning. And I had a epiphany, a come to Jesus moment, where I realized that I don't see myself the way that you see me or some other people see me, right? So I realized that the people in South Africa, they don't see themselves the way I see them. Why I don't give up on them, and why I haven't walked away, even though I've taken so much crap and just insane, is because I see so much potential and strength, and the history is so amazing.
You know, Brandi, the thing is, what people don't know about these people is we're very lovable. We don't want to fight. We want peace. We braai all the time. We kuier all the
just want
time.
to braai and drink
we
beer.
are so happy-go-lucky. But there's a side to us when that switch gets flipped, right? And that's the part of us that you can see in history that has come out. You know, Charmaine, was it Charmaine Skeppers? The schools are being taken over.
I know. I wanted to comment on her comment.
You know, there's supposed to be 11 official languages in South Africa, of which Afrikaans is one. So once again, the law is being altered on a pay-as-you-go manner to suit them, irrespective of what our constitution says. You know, it's not the Roman law in place anymore. It's the ANC law.
It's whatever they want it to be.
And it's made up as they go along. They're not allowed to take Afrikaans out of schools, because it's
even
one
in
of our languages.
Don't your people have a right to present their court cases in Afrikaans as their first language?
We're allowed to have access to any Afrikaans medium that we need, just like the Xhosas, the Zulus, the Setswanas.
I mean, if that's your first language, I mean, it's crazy. I was going to say to Charmaine that don't worry, Charmaine. My children are both learning Afrikaans. I'm not great at speech, but I can read and write pretty well. I get my words backwards sometimes, but it's kind of like Afrikaans being your first language and writing in English. It's the same thing. Words get mixed up. But so at least I will do my part to see this live on, because I think it's something very special.
Well, I would not, I mean, both my children were educated in Afrikaans, even though I'm an English South African. And I would never change that for anything in the world, because that's their heritage, their culture. That's who they are. That's where they come from. And I'm proud of it, and they are proud of it. It's just wrong. They make the law up as they, in South Africa, we've got pay as you go. Like electricity, we've got like a unit in our home, so we buy prepaid electricity. Same with the cell phones and that pay as you go, so you just buy as you need. That's what the ANC does. They just alter the law as they need.
Charmaine says they said there isn't enough kids, which is a lie.
It doesn't matter. Even if there isn't, there are Afrikaans teachers, there are schools, and there are classrooms. Okay, so there's a teacher, there's a classroom, there's a school.
I've got an Afrikaans comment down here.
Huh? Where?
Brandi, can you
read? Well, we all understand the hehe.
Yeah. Yes, I can. So Alice, we're at like 51 minutes, and I was going to give you an opportunity. I don't know if you have.
I do have one question.
Questions for
me?
I'm
going to ask it.
Okay.
How do you see the Boer, Afrikaans, English, South Africans? And I want an honest opinion. No. Yes.
Wait, what's the question?
How do you see? Do you think the numbers will are too big for us? Number one. And how do you see them? How do you see our people? How do you really see our people?
You know what? I have agonized for a long time over the numbers, because yes, I know that numbers do not always matter. But what made me afraid was, the Zulus didn't have AK-47s, right? I have come to a point where this fear has just gone from me. And I don't know how or why. Maybe it's what I'm seeing, from the outside, the community slowly kind of coming together and people finding their strength, and they just don't care anymore about being offensive. They don't care. They're tired, and I'm at a point where, look, I just have to trust in God and trust in what I know and what I see. And that is, I don't believe that no matter the numbers, that they will lose. I don't, because I believe they are God's people. And I remember reading Van Rensburg, where he says that the people find Mausers under the floorboards. And, I know this doesn't necessarily mean they're actually going to be Mausers, but it makes me think that there are a lot of people across the world preparing for this for you. In Texas, I've had people offer me their weapons. Obviously, that's not a reality at this point, sending weapons there, but that makes me think. And I know that what is needed will be provided. And
it will be provided. That's why I say the numbers, they can have their numbers.
And the strength and the history of everything these people have been through, all the wars, the battles fought for freedom and for this land, I cannot believe that it ends any other way. I cannot. And, you know, Senior Van Rensburg has been right about everything else. So I have faith in that I know the ending and that the fear clear will fly again. I believe this.
I believe it too. It will. We just need to stop fighting each other as well. You know, there's a lot of that going on. I don't know why. I don't know why we do that. You know, my only goal always is to be with our people and to live in harmony and to stand up for them and fight for them and, you know, build a new life with them. But there are just some of them that just keeps fighting everyone else around them, fighting us, fighting what we're doing, you know, accusing us of causing panic and instilling fear. And I just don't know how to respond to that anymore, because when will it be okay to talk about it?
Right.
When
So someone
must there be? I don't know.
Someone said numbers do not matter. What matters is bravery and brains. And Boers, don't worry because you have both and right on your side. And I believe this. I always say that your greatest weapon against your enemy is that you have the ability of rational thought process, right? This is huge. Use it. Use
That's
your
a
brain.
nice message to give out.
And
That's the type of things we need to tell each other. That's
right.
what we need to tell each other, instead of saying to each other, but. You know, no buts anymore. We've done better. We've created a whole country. We've produced the first heart surgeon. We have accomplished so much in our...
No. His gardener taught him that, according to Zinzi Mandela.
Oh, you know, if we weren't on here now, I would have showed you something, but I won't do it. But, you know, my point is we need to remember.
I'm just saying.
I'll show you afterwards. We need to remember. You know, we need to remember and stop telling each other that we're useless and we're no good and we don't matter. We do. We are human and we are of God, as all Christians around the world are. Everyone matters. So do we. Why shouldn't we matter? What makes us so bad that we don't matter? So why can't we just show our kids and show our grandkids that they matter too, and not put up with this anymore? So build each other up, you know, be there for one another, form a chain with people around you, and just get stronger and stronger from there. That's what chains are made of, you know, unity. So, yes, that's what I just wanted to say. Eendracht maak mag. I mean, this we were taught in primary school in South Africa, you know. We were children when we were taught this. Where did that go? How did that just slip away? We've always been united and we've been very strong when united. But today, everybody is against everybody. Everybody has a problem with everybody. Everybody accuses everybody of something. And that's why we're falling apart. And that's why we're vulnerable.
But if people can just find a common ground, so if everyone can agree that they want everything to stop, what's being perpetrated against really all of South Africa, but also the murders against farmers and all of the white minority, the atrocities being committed against them, that's a common ground. And that's enough.
Murders. It's the torturing that goes into the murders that are too much.
Right.
It's
we
not.
can all agree on that, right?
It's not as though the attackers walk in and first of all put a gun to everybody's head and takes them out and then ransack the house. No. They have to spend 2 to 4 to 6 hours torturing somebody. And they enjoy it. You know, that's the thing.
And they're held as heroes afterward.
How evil is that?
Evil enough that I don't think a human being could do that. It's not human nature. So only demons would know nothing of human nature, is the only thing I can make sense of.
Yeah, you know, 007 Spectre, yeah, has got a point, you know. We don't really like rocking the boat.
Right.
You know, and a lot of people have worked all their lives to get to a position where they're financially stable and comfortable. And, you know, there's also that thing of you're always chasing more. The more you have, the more you want. And that's a big problem with a lot of people is they don't want to lose what they have. But what they don't understand is you're not going to have it.
You're not going to have it.
Your property is not only your home. And it won't only be your home. It'll be everything you own later on. And if you did, you don't have it anyways. So, you know.
This is true. He says Tolkien told you all in his books. If you think about that, it's absolutely true.
White
I'm a fan of Tolkien.
100% right.
And it is prophesized.
Anyways, you know, I get to a point where I shouldn't say a lot of things that I say.
Yeah, white guilt's a bullshit leftist made up term that shouldn't even exist, honestly.
But you know,
I don't have white guilt. Me either, Jackie.
We're snapping out. Yes, ons is te goedhartig, Shamaine. We don't want to fight. We don't want to hurt people. We're not killers. We're not murderers. We won't kick somebody when they're down. We'll never do that. Even if it's our enemy, we would stand up and help them out.
Human nature. It's called human nature. Yeah. And it's being a decent human being.
Yeah. That's maybe our problem.
Someone said earlier that many people are desensitized to what's happening. And I say that often too, because when people speak, about the murders or even their own families being victims, I've noticed that, which I don't expect everyone to just cry and, but they just speak very matter-of-factly. I mean, horrifying things where I'm like, wait, what did you say? And they just boom, boom, boom. It's just factual. But I think they are desensitized to it. I always say that I'm conditioned to safety because it's all I've ever known. And people here are conditioned to terror.
But Brandi, we had a thing at home. At breakfast, you'd get the news, Big Al's. And I say him specifically because that's exactly what happened when he was attacked in the area I lived. And, we had breakfast and we spoke about it. And we were silent for a few minutes, because you try and imagine what that old man went through and what his partner went through. And after breakfast, you get up and you carry on again. And you shake it off and you carry on. That's not normal behavior because it happens so often to so many people, so close to you and around you, that you get the news, you take a moment for it to sink in, and then you move on.
Because
and that's not normal. That's wrong. That's not normal. And that's how it is for us. You hear about a hijacking, you say, oh, that's bad. Oh, that was terrible. And then 10 minutes later, you're on to the next thing. Because it happens so much.
And it's funny for me because even though I don't know these people being murdered, Alice, I don't need their stories anymore.
Mm.
I know their stories because I know their faces. So it stays with me. And maybe it's because I don't know this. It doesn't happen here very often, very rare. But it haunts me. I mean, literally. I can look at someone's picture and tell you how they were murdered, what happened to their family. More people than not. And it's because I'm not desensitized to it. It's horrifying to me. I can't.
Well, I no longer am. I mean, being here, you know, for the time that we've been here, that's why I get mad now, you know? Now that I'm here and I'm past all that, I'm not living in it anymore, I get mad, I get angry,
Yeah.
I get frustrated. And, you know, I get so frustrated with watching this unfold in front of me. I still have people there that I love.
And your
I have
hands
my
are
whole
tied.
tribe that I love, you know? And watching all this happening from outside and watching the government get away with what they are getting away with is it's ooh, you
And
know,
you can do nothing. You just feel helpless. You want to
that
just
just makes me,
get everybody and just.
well, that just makes me go at it even harder, because we're obviously doing something right with all the threats going around. No, it's not normal, and they shouldn't be allowed to get away with the things they're getting away with. No country would put up with that. No citizen would put up with that from any country. Why are we?
Anywhere.
Why
Anywhere.
are we? How many crosses are there? How many names are there? How many should there be until we say enough?
I can tell you that there are so many that I have been trying to build a spreadsheet for at least a year to filter out.
Just hang on a second. Jennifer, I never said white people aren't criminals. And I never said they've never committed crimes. I've never said that. Listen to what we are saying.
No, don't play into this because this is a distraction, what they try to do. Okay, the fact is, white people do commit crimes. Other races do commit crimes. No other race on the planet commits violent crime at the rate of Black South Africans, Black Americans, or Blacks anywhere else in the world. Okay? In America, 13% of the population commit 53% of the murder. That's a Department of Justice statistic. So the problem is it is lied about, it is covered up, and excuses are made for it instead of holding people accountable. It's not my fault that these people are committing a gross amount of violent crime compared to every other race. All I'm doing is saying something that's a fact. So, I mean, white on black crime, even in America, is so small, there's not even a statistic. Okay?
And I mean, look at the Kulini too. Look at the Kulini too. The witness lied, right? The justice isn't even applied the same to black and to white.
Right.
That's not even the same. So the Kulini too, with the witness that lied, were sentenced for murder, which they didn't commit.
Right. And we're not speaking about white farmers slaughtering entire families of people and gang raping children and elderly and slitting people's throats and setting babies on fire and pouring boiling water down their throats or gasoline down their throats and setting them on
And
fire.
cutting their eyelids out. So please.
This is why we're not talking
cannot
about
compare.
white crime, because this is not happening. Facts don't care about your feelings. That's right. And I'm not the one, because I'm done playing nice. I'm going to speak the truth. And if you don't like it, then you shouldn't listen, because I'm done being polite, and I don't wish to offend anyone. I don't hate anyone, but I'm going to speak the truth. You show me a white farmer who has tortured and slaughtered an entire family of blacks, and I will immediately speak out on their behalf. Just one. Show me one, and I will make an entire video speaking out on their behalf. It doesn't exist. Sorry. I get upset because people try to manipulate and put words in your mouth, and I won't allow you to do that.
No, look, crime is rampant everywhere. Nobody's denying that. White people, black people, doesn't matter. Crime is crime.
It does matter.
What matters is the crime against the white South Africans, the violence against them, the torturing of white families, white children, cutting a dad's eyelids off, drilling holes in his knees to force him to watch the rape of his children and his wife before killing him, and then ransacking the house and just taking weapons. The motive for these attacks are never what it seems. It's hatred, and it's to wipe out an entire race and tribe in South Africa. We don't do that.
Right.
We don't do that.
They are based solely on race, which is wrong. If it were any other people in the world that this were happening to, and they were not white, this would be the biggest news story in the entire world. If we're going to hold people accountable.
Can you imagine if it was reversed? I mean, if it was swapped around in South Africa, we would have been bombed into Kingdom Come by now.
Yeah.
Really?
We are the most hated race. Yeah, I know this.
This is what our previous government was protecting us from. She's right.
Yeah, that's why I put that up. I agree. Cut the throat of whiteness. That's right.
Yes.
I made a video a while back, guys. You can find it. It's kind of way back in my videos, but it was when Steve Hofmeyr was being viciously attacked, and I was angry because all he said was, "We will defend our property," you know, and that's pretty much it. And it was hate speech and all of this. So I made a video, and I started it out with Julius Malema and his speech about cutting the throat of whiteness. Then I went to a clip of Steve Hofmeyr speaking out to the world to show the differences in what they have to say, right? Then I spoke on a disgusting article written about Steve. And I ended it with Julius Malema singing Kill the Boer. And the last clip is Steve singing De-Stem. And I did that to show what is acceptable and what is considered racism, because it's so ridiculous and backwards that if people didn't see that and realize what the hell is going on there, I don't know what else would make them see. You know, this is normal. This is hate speech. You're crazy. This is insane.
That's why I say the standards don't apply to both races. The law does not apply to both. You've got one set of laws for the minority, which is much harsher. For instance, again, the Kulini boys, right?
Yeah.
Then you've got a set of laws for the majority. When they commit these murders, they let out on 300 rands bail.
Right.
Now, Brandi, 300 rand is $20 in America.
Right.
It's $20, right? So for a murder, you need to bail yourself out at $20.
So Philip and Peter, when they made bail, Half the town was burned down. People were attacked. I mean, they were basically only convicted because of the EFF intimidation. It made me so angry, and this is why I spoke for them. Every court hearing, all you see behind them is a sea of red. You know, they were there for intimidation.
I mean, those guys from the weekend, that garage they took on that white guy. I don't know if you saw that, Brandi, where they blasted him. They were acting, you know, like they were racist, right? I'm sure you saw it, but anyways, it was two that ganged up against the one. I mean, they were let out. They were caught for hate speech and whatnot, but they were let out. You know?
They were calling for these guys to be pretty much lynched before they even knew the name of the kid that jumped off the damn truck and broke his neck.
He wasn't a kid, Brandi.
He wasn't a kid.
Or something. That's another thing that they're not being honest about. And the mother who claimed to be heartbroken, and she hadn't even seen him in months. You know, so it was all propaganda. They destroyed that entire town. And I know because I have family living in that town. They burnt down their house. They burnt down a few other houses. Johan's family. They destroyed the shops. There's shops that have been there for 30, 40, 50 years, and they just can't open it again, you know?
Right.
They destroyed that entire town because of that. And that's
the lying witness gets a house built for himself for lying over and over and over again.
No, that's why I say there's no justice. There's no justice and there's no law, there's no order. The law is applied as needed and as it suits them. And I'm not I'm not a racist, I'm not saying whites are angels. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, you know, compare apples to apples.
But when whites commit crimes, it's plastered all over the news. It's the biggest news story for weeks on end, which is why we're not talking about it, because we don't need to, because they talk about it nonstop.
About targeted attacks and killings, and nobody's targeting the Black nation in South Africa, the nations, the tribes. Nobody's targeting them. Do you understand?
Right.
So that's not open for discussion because there are no white against Black killings.
As I said,
large scale or torturings.
White on Black crime is so low that the statistics are basically non-existent.
And Black on Black crime is rampant as well. We're not denying that.
But Alice, something else what most people don't know is that everybody talks about, you know, the world, how evil apartheid was and all of this. Okay, number one, apartheid is just a word. It can't be evil. It means to live separately, okay?
It's segregation. It's enforced segregation.
People don't know that the apartheid government gave land because the warring tribes could not coexist together, gave them their own homelands.
I mean, we've got all those little areas that they were given.
The 10-state solution, right? They also agreed to help them, and they helped them greatly with mining, infrastructure, and to build their own homelands. So they had already given this enormous amount of land, yet they're also forced to hand over their own country that they built. It's like someone showing up to your house and saying, hey, I really like this house, so you're going to have to leave because I don't have a house like this and I want it. And then the world or your community saying, yeah, you need to leave because that guy doesn't have a house like you, so you need to give yours to him.
And tomorrow I'll go knocking on the next guy's house because I want to. I saw him do it. I wanted to.
Right.
Yeah. No, what people also don't understand about apartheid is, I've got it in the book. I mean, there's the best hospitals were built, the best schools were built, the best universities and libraries were built. What have they done the past few years? They've burnt them down. They've burnt down schools, hospitals, libraries. They want it all, but they burn it all down. That they want, they're burning down. So I don't understand the mentality of this. The pass rate apparently now is going from 30% to 20%. I don't know how we're going to have successful doctors and lawyers and essential services in South Africa with something.
Everything has to crash, fail, before anything can change.
But also in apartheid, what people need to understand is the black on black killings far, far outweighed.
Which was why there was the 10-state solution.
And also the youth that were killed, even though it was very bad that it
and it wasn't only
they attacked
South Africa
that
people couldn't move freely, right? You could only move freely in your state, your territory, which makes perfect sense in a country. If you come into my country, the government has the right to know where you're going, what you're doing, when you're leaving, if you're leaving. You know what I'm saying? So people think that it was only South Africa where people couldn't move freely.
Well, when he talks about factional violence, that's exactly. Suck my socks.
And that's karma. What exactly is karma? 1,500 years of slavery is karma for what? First of all, so these people were stuck on the continent while my ancestors were forging steel and building ships. And they were stuck on the continent until my ancestors arrived, and their own people sold them as slaves. And the fact is, more Black people have owned slaves in history than any other race of people. In America, only 1% of slaves were owned by whites.
Look what Kevin Krimberg is saying. And I actually think I can remember something like that. Can't remember. Johannes de Jong did what pre-94? Did I miss something?
Alice, they did. I don't remember what it was you said. The Zulus and Xhosas had been at war for 400 years.
Yeah. I know. There was a genocide that took place with the Dungan, you all know that history. I know they've always been at war with each other.
Right. Okay, guys. Well, we've been on for almost an hour and a half, and I just missed talking to you. So, even under apartheid, other African country people came to South Africa. Just remember one thing: we don't have an RSA next to our borders to flee to. Right? Put a boot in their evil backsides. What does Uru mean? It means to renew, to cleanse. In reference to South Africa, it means to cleanse the nation of white people.
Uhuru. Yeah.
Right, I can't pronounce it right.
No, you did pronounce it right.
I did. I was trying to speak about this the other day and I couldn't get it out.
Visual design, yeah.
Actually, I was asking Lena Marks if she knew what it was, but I erased it because I thought I spelled it wrong. What does Uhuru mean? I've always wondered. So it means to, in reference to South Africa, it means to cleanse the nation of whites.
But we'll get there. We're going to get there.
Right.
There's a lot more people
Someone said
in it than there was a year ago.
Harry just said this, but I want to say Harry because I worry greatly for the entire world where, you know, everything's just crazy and makes no sense. And someone said something to me the other day because I was worrying about something in Texas, and they said that the scales have a way of balancing themselves. I don't know if it's God. I don't know if it's cosmic karma, what it is. But I see this to be true so many times. You know, you think things are going off in a ditch, and somehow things end up, you know, coming back to an even playing field, right? And I believe that this situation is one of those situations, and I have faith that the outcome is going to be great. JJ Watt raised $100 million for Hurricane Harvey. I agree. Why can't rich whites help out? I say the same thing all the time. I love JJ Watt too. I'm a Texans fan and definitely a JJ Watt fan. And I was in Hurricane Harvey and watched the suffering. So what he did was amazing.
It's mine. Sorry.
What are you laughing at?
Mine. I don't think Lana Marks likes me. She's quiet on Twitter now. She doesn't like me.
You can ask Alice. I'm surprised she hasn't blocked me from Instagram because I like bomb her posts with these long, like horrifying messages telling everything. And I know she reads them because when I posted all the pictures of her son with Hillary Clinton, they were gone the very next day. Mm-hmm. So that's why I just keep writing them. More blue bloods, more white farmers need to move to South Africa from the U.S. Are you crazy? Listen, if I would be safe, I'm all for moving to South Africa, but that's not a reality for me at this point.
Not yet.
One day, and I'll have my bags packed, ready to go.
I will do the walk Jason is walking back to South Africa. I just don't know how I'm going to get over the sea.
You cannot swim that far.
Oh, no.
You need a boat.
I'll probably find that missing airline. Malaysian Airlines.
You get your scuba gear. Okay, guys. Well, we've been on for an hour and a half now, and although I love speaking to you, Alice, and I miss you very much, we're going to end here. Thanks everybody so much for watching, except for the trolls.
Oh, that's okay.
But I love it when you reveal yourself that way I can block you.
Going to speak about.
Yeah, you need all the support you can get, Michelle, and we are trying very hard to make that a reality.
There's a lot of support already. Just remember that. You may not see it, you may not hear it, you may not know it, but it's there.
Right. So thank you all very, very much. And we love you guys, and I will be thinking of you. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you for joining.